What are some of the most important characteristics of leadership, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I'll just good question. And you can read 2,000 books of this, right? But in my mind, comes down to um, being real.
Hmm.
I think don't forget all the folks that you work with on the way up are the same ones you see coming back down. So just be you, okay? Stay humble. Humility's good, okay? Okay, it's okay to say I'm wrong.
Hmm.
Listen, empathy, caring, and keep a positive attitude. I mean, you got to stay positive, and notice I didn't say in there IQ, because I'm certainly not the smartest guy around. But we're all probably around the same intelligence, frankly. It's those soft things that matter. We probably have the emotional intelligence that really, really matters. But they're the things off the top of my head.
Most of us never learned how to train our brains, which is why most of us needlessly settle, struggle, and worse, suffer. My name is Chris Doris, and I want to make brain training mainstream. This is my series, Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I'm interviewing badasses from all walks of life on what mental toughness means to them and their unique approaches to strengthening their minds. Yeah, I'm sporting it today in honor of our guest, who I'm very excited to share with you because he's a fellow Philly boy. How often is it that you get to interview the CEO of a $20 billion a year company? 20 billion, almost, like 19.6 or something like that. I don't know. Well, we got one today. He's the first, come to think of it, to this point so far in the almost 100 episodes of Tough Talks, the first CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. So I can't wait to ask him what's that like. In fact, we'll probably lead off with that question. But his name is Phil Gallagher, and he's worked with Avnet for almost 40 years. He started his career in Philly and worked up the ranks, and ultimately, he's held so many positions in Avnet, and he's got a super interesting history with Avnet, because I don't know if we're going to get into it or not, but I had lunch recently with Phil because we've known each other for years, and I'd done some work with Avnet back in the day, and stayed in touch with him. And when I heard he became CEO about 18 months ago, I thought, holy moly, let's get together, man. Let's talk about that. And he told me that he had actually left the company very briefly, and then they wanted him back to run the company. I mean, it's an incredible story. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from that unique perspective, right? From the CEO position of what mental toughness means in his world, both professionally, but also personally. He's such a thoughtful guy. I've always had such a great vibe from him. And he's a Philly boy, from at the Drexel. So, all right, let's go learn from the man, Phil Gallagher. Where are you, bud?
There he is, my man, my fellow Philly boy.
Mr. Doris, how are you?
Hey, Gallagher. How did you just ask me how am I? I'll tell you. I thought you did. Oh, thank you for asking me that. I appreciate. You know what that stands for?
I do. I'm drawing a blank.
Best damn day of my life.
Yeah, I knew that. We got that on recently.
Yeah.
And you got your Eagles hat on, so you are mentally tough. You're mentally tough.
We need it. we, as a Philadelphia fan, if there's one thing you need, it's two things: booze and then mental toughness.
Well, the audience may not know, I'm a diehard Birds fan as well. So
no, they know.
We'll bounce back.
Oh no, they know, because I mentioned that. I emphasize that, as a matter of fact, in your introduction.
All right.
So here's my first question. I think, well, first, by the way, we are rapidly here at Tough Talks approaching our 100th episode, and you're the first CEO of a nearly $20 billion in revenue annually sized company. So there aren't a whole lot of you around. You're a rare breed. What the hell is that? What, honest to God, what is it like? I know it's a big question, but I don't care because I think a lot of people have this question. Like, what is it like to be the CEO of a company that huge?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a tough one to answer, frankly. Well, for me, it's a bit surreal. It's been about 15, 16 months now when I got the opportunity, Chris. And I'm with Avnet and the industrial semiconductor distributor, and I've been with them going on 40 years, 40, with a short blip in there that I left for a period of time. So I didn't, my whole life wasn't like, I got to be CEO, it wasn't really even in the cards. I started in Philly, as you know, and just worked up through the ranks, started in warehouse, customer service, right on through sales and operations, and bam, here I am. So I still pinch myself every day. I'm blessed. We just celebrated it's your 100th episode. We just celebrated our 100 years in business last year. Okay, so now we're in the 101st.
Yeah.
So it's I'm blessed. I'm just blessed and honored, and humbled. Frankly, I think that's the best way to summarize it. It's a big job. You got a lot of constituents that's pulling at you. You really, really need to work on prioritization because everything's important. But boy, you might have. There's you can work 9 days a week in this job. Okay, so you got to really work on what's most critical and where can I add the biggest impact? I know what I'm not good at. Okay, but I also know what I'm good at. And it's a lot of the stuff that you espouse, frankly, with relationships and people and trust and attitude and those types of things that are tougher to see. They're not all black and white. Before you can feel them when they're going well, and you really see it in the performance when they're not, from a culture standpoint, right?
What are some of the most important characteristics of leadership, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I'll just good question. And you can read 2,000 books of this, right? But in my mind, it comes down to being real. I think don't forget all the folks that you work with on the way up are the same ones you see coming back down. So just be you. Okay, stay humble. Humility's good. Okay. It's okay to say I'm wrong. Listen, empathy, caring, and keep a positive attitude. You got to stay positive, and notice I didn't say in there IQ because I'm certainly not the smartest guy around. But we're all probably around the same intelligence, frankly. It's those soft things that matter. We probably the emotional intelligence that really, really matters. But they're the things off the top of my head.
It's interesting that you say that. It's so funny because the terminology is like soft skills. I actually hate that because now I'm not saying that I hate that you said that. I'm saying that it's referred to because it makes it sound sort of weak, but it's like you said, it's far more emotional mastery, emotional intelligence, EQ is far more important than IQ, right? And I just said that, and I use EQ or emotional mastery synonymously with mental toughness.
It's hand in hand, and I espouse it really because I've seen more careers get derailed for bad attitude, bad teamwork, these emotional intelligence side that I do. People making business mistakes. We make mistakes all day. I screw up all the time, right? I made a mistake. But boy, when you have a bad attitude or your self-awareness isn't there, you're always right, nobody wants to work with you, they're the derailers. And you see people forget how they got to where they are, and they treat people different. And you can't do that. It's just, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, a lot of people, when they hear, I use mental toughness as my brand, right? But as I mentioned, I also use the terminology synonymously, honest to God, not just with emotional mastery or EQ, but mental toughness to me is also synonymous with enlightenment. I'm not kidding. I don't look at the word enlightenment as this, whoa, trippy, hippy dippy, weird, Sedona-y, foo-foo state or terminology. It's got the word light in it. And if you study any human peak performance, when people are in the zone, they feel lightness of being, period.
Yep.
Right. So, there's nothing soft about it, any of that, it's like, and it's hard stuff. And we didn't have it, and that's the whole reason that this podcast exists, is that we didn't have, most of us didn't have any formal training on those kinds of skills.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people think that mental toughness is like, like offensive lineman kind of shit. You know what I mean? Just, or Navy SEAL, but that's part of it. But that's a part of it. And what you're describing are skills. Like you said, empathy. I'm so glad you said empathy. You included empathy in your response to my question. Right? Why? Why'd you include empathy in there?
You got to care. And you're right. Going back to this hard work. Hard work can be physical, and what's exhausting is the mental side of things. But empathy is important. I mean, you show that you care, show that you're listening, and respond to it. So you see someone in the hallway, and you say, "How are you doing?" How many times you do that and you really just keep walking and you don't really listen to how are they doing, right? They, stop and listen and talk. Okay. And people, particularly as the higher up you go, people are watching you more than listening to you. So just show them some empathy. Okay. And it matters. I mean, it just does. Okay? It's simple. I mean, this is another thing. It's free and it's simple and people like it and they talk about it. They talk to other people about it. It's just again, people forget.
And I work with a lot of business leaders, and I look at that as like people who are in any level of leadership position have the privilege of experiencing the emotional reward that comes with actually getting good at giving a damn about your people. Phil, I got to tell you,
it feels great. You're absolutely right, Chris. It feels really good.
It's a privilege, right? Is that you get to have that. You get to have that experience. Because you can't put a price tag on that.
No.
On helping people elevate their state, feeling good, knowing that they're cared about. And apparently, you're doing a pretty phenomenal job of that, at least by one metric, which I've never seen anything like this before. In preparing for this interview, I know that like Glassdoor is not like the most reliable source of data, but I will say that this piece of information is incredibly reliable. You have a 97% CEO approval rating. I've never seen that. That's ridiculous.
I don't look at Glassdoor a whole lot, but maybe
but I wouldn't either. But I'm just telling you, the ratings here, okay? Actually, it's good. Like Glassdoor's, Avnet's doing good.
Yeah, no,
you
really
gotta give. It's nice. I mean, that's way to go.
Thank you. Well, I think relationships matter, Chris, and I think there's an old saying I used to say when I was just a sales manager back in Philly. Hey, if people feel good, they play good. And then our job as management to get that under the way, right? I mean. And that's not, again, it's another soft comment. Make them feel good. No, they feel good. You give them the right work environment. You care. They're going to go play good. No different than a team, right?
Right.
A good person, a bad coach. I mean, I travel around the world, not as much right now as the COVID, obviously, but, I travel around, even around the Americas. You go from one city to the next. One city's doing great. Let's say Philly, that branch doing terrific. Go into XYZ city. And they're not. I'm like, well, what's the difference? We got the same inventory, same computer system, same phone system, same office. It's leadership. Okay. It's not everything else, right? So it's how you treat people. And if you treat people good, typically they're going to treat you well back and treat your customer.
So I have a two-pronged question for you next, which will be, I've always been fascinated by this question because I'm fascinated by my own response to this question. So the question is, part A, is what role has mental toughness played in your life? Not just necessarily as a CEO for the last 18 months, but I mean in your life. And then part B of the question is, what effect has the absence of mental toughness at any point played in your life?
Well, it's really good.
I'll give you an example for me of what the absence of mental toughness played in my life was mediocrity. Like I was a good athlete. I was a really good athlete actually, but I didn't know I was. I was not mentally tough. My coaches would constantly tell me I was so much better than I was, but I would wait until I screwed up to get fired up and then show up. But by then, I'm on the damn bench.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So for the audience, Well, we didn't, well, growing up, didn't have a whole lot. Had a great family, great parents, brothers, sisters. But so we didn't call it mental toughness back then, right?
Yeah.
You know, it was you know, it's the old adage you hear it all the time. You know, it's a cheap phrase, but it really means a whole lot. You treat other people as you want to be treated, right? Do the right thing. Avoid what's wrong. Do it. Faith, we'll get into that later, maybe. But you know, the relationships matter. Treat people like that's what I did. And I got that from my family and friends, and that drove the right attitude. Helping others, you help others, they help you. I think it's been foundational, frankly, and I've been really, really lucky to have a good foundation in growing up, and it played well for my career. I mean, I've been I was look, we all had ups and downs. Football, you bring up football. I was probably an average athlete that worked his ass off. I mean, I worked my tail off. Nobody was going to be in the gym later than I was, weight room, whatever it was back then in the 70s. And I had a freshman coach say the opposite. Hey, you're not going to make varsity. You won't ever make varsity. You know, it's just you're not big enough. And I was a lineman, and I remember sitting on the curb. I was outside the gym. I remember like yes, it was 1976, and Coach Worski said you're never going to play. And I don't know if he did that to inspire me, to your point, or did he really believe that? I didn't believe that. Hey, that's for damn sure. And I made varsity my sophomore year, played varsity my junior year, was the K team captain senior year. So it was
wow. Did you ever go back and talk to him and say, remember that little comment made there?
Yeah, I did not him, but I had a great coach. I do every now and then stay in touch with Coach Parrish, and was one of the best coaches I ever had. And boy, did he develop mental toughness. We didn't call it that back then, but man, was he tough for the right reasons. Never swore, by the way. But he's kind of one of those guys you'd envision him and tied to the bumper of your car and away home from practice. He just like he was so tough, but he was fair and he taught the right values. And it still impact. I just had a big impact. One of the biggest impacts, and I played in college as well, but by far. The high school foundation sports was a big deal for me. What was the second part?
So the second part was like what impact at any point in your life would you say like an absence of mental toughness, even if it was momentary, because this is where people can really relate.
Yeah, I think trying to come up with probably a lot of which Chris, I probably I would just say when. Well, I've been fired. I've lost jobs. Actually, it wasn't due to mental toughness necessarily, but at Avnet, I had parted ways back in 2015 with the former CEO, and so that's really amazing. When I was here and parted ways and went coach high school football here in town at Notre Dame Prep, and felt sorry. You feel sorry for yourself, for a little while. And then you pick up the bootstraps, say, hey, off you go. It was 35 years at the time. And wow. And then they asked me to come back. So if you think about that, hey, talk about a roller coaster, said to the audience, hey, if you're something goes wrong, take it as an opportunity, whether it's a failure, mistake, what have you. You learn more from those than you do from winning, I think. So losing sometimes is
hell yeah.
Right? Don't you agree? I mean, when you win, all the blemishes kind of get overshadowed. Even in football, the way I play high school, because hey, all the missed tackles and the missed blocks kind of get overshadowed. When you lose, everybody knows, hey, I had fun with the ball, or I did a bad snap, or you don't overshadow those things. So I think that would be probably it. I mean,
that's huge.
Bounced back, ended up going to Texas for a year. Then Avnet called me back and asked me to come back, and all of a sudden I ended up in this role. I mean, who would have thought back at
in golf, there's a stat called the bounce back, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a hell of a bounce back, mister.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster. And as I said,
but you said something really interesting that I'd like to just examine for a moment, if we could, in that response, which is that I don't remember the exact language you just used, but you said after you were let go, having spent almost 4 decades of service there, then you I don't remember the exact language, but you were well, you're sad. You were, I don't know, what were you? I don't want to put it.
I said, you feel sorry for yourself sometimes.
Okay.
And I think the audience should know, I think feel sorry for yourself is okay once in a while. Just don't do it every day and all day. You know what I mean? It's okay to have, you have emotions, and that's okay. I think, I think you want to be careful when you hear mental toughness that it isn't mistaking to, hey, don't show emotion or don't cry or don't feel sad or anything. I think that's all fine. I think people that don't do that are holding it all in, and that's not good either, right? So mental toughness doesn't mean you're the tough guy or gal that's nothing bothers you. Because that's bullshit. So everybody, even the last 2 years, particularly, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
haven't felt sad or felt depressed or isolated or whatever in the last 2 years with COVID being locked down. You're not human.
Right.
Seriously, everybody, you're right. I mean, you could go out with your friends, you could go bowling, you could go to movies, could have a glass of wine, cup of coffee, whatever.
Yeah.
You need that, and so I talk about emotion and feel sorry for yourself, but only to a point, right? Then you got to boom.
Right. Like for how
up and get back out.
Amen. Sorry to cut you off there. One of my former coaches, Steve Chandler, always says, it's like how soon after we don't get what we want, which a lot of people call failure. I don't call it failure. I just call it a result where I didn't get what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, there are two kinds of results. There's no such thing as failure in my world. There's just results. And either I got what I wanted or I didn't. And you said it earlier. So thank God for when I don't get what I want, because that's when I get to grow. But what Chandler says is, it's like, how fast do you want to get to growth after you don't get what you want? So I love what you're saying. There's nothing, by virtue of the fact that it being a part of human experience, like sadness, well, then it's beautiful. However, there is a difference between, there's a mantra for this, imagine that. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Right? So suffering, right? So, but I love what you said, is like, thank God for the contrast of sadness or the self-pity that you said, but the question is how long you want to be there.
That's right. And then there's a point where that's really well said. And then there's because you're a professional, I'm just me. But then there's a side of, hey, and don't play martyr too long either. How you doing? People get tired of that. You don't play that card. You have some really close friends or a doctor that you want to go, unload on, that's great. But, walk around all day just being a martyr and woe is me. And people see that does not inspire others around you. Okay. Have some people you can vent to. Then you got to try to move on. But it's human nature. I mean, we all do it. I do it. We all bitch or complain about something that we probably don't need to, but anyway.
Yeah, you asked me. I have this, obviously. This right. I wore this to our launch also, but I have a lot of these. So yeah. But you know what it is? It's not. It's actually it's a reminder to myself because every day is not the best damn day of my life all day long. But you're asking me, how are you doing? The question itself I use as a reminder, because I might be in that very moment. I might be doing pretty shitty.
Yeah.
I might be stuck in my own self-pity. I might be wallowing. I might be fretting. I might be panicking I might just be thinking really, really poorly in that moment, demonstrating an extreme absence of mental toughness whatsoever. But your question reminds me to elevate state.
Yep.
So, right. So it's to elevate state. So I couldn't love what you're saying there more. It's funny because somebody this morning on LinkedIn just asked me, they asked me yesterday, how are you? And I said, this is the best damn day of my life. And then they wrote back last night, which I didn't see till this morning, which is, oh, I'm so interested. Why? What happened? And I said, I woke up. The same thing happened this morning. It happened yesterday. As I woke up and then I made the decision, but I forget that throughout the day.
Yeah, you do have a choice, and it goes back to when I talk to, I'm going to do branch meetings and things like that. I'll talk about attitude. I think attitude, we all control our attitude, and a positive attitude versus negative. And then we're all going to have bad days. Look, we're going to have losses in our life. We're going to have things that are, really, really affect you. But I say to you, attitude is a differentiator. You can hear attitude on the phone. You can see it when you watch people walk around. You can see when you watch people interact. You can see it on a football team, an orchestra, ballet, whatever. The attitude. And I tell people, this is kind of, I do it in a humorous way, Philly sarcasm within the play. But I said to me, I said, if you're in again, normal time, you're in the office and no one ever asks you to go to lunch. Is that on them or is that on you, maybe? You know, so sometimes you gotta, you know, just go back to the self-awareness and the self-pity and the, oh, nobody is, well, maybe you're not fun to be with. I mean, maybe you complain all the time, or you whine all the time. Well, we all know people. I mean, right? It's the truth. You're in the office and you see someone's quiet out, and you're like, great, it's gonna be a good day, and he or she's not into that, you know. So I think there's an awareness there. So
You're talking about ownership, right?
Yeah.
It's like taking ownership. So like, you know, we're all conditioned to be victims. None of us are exempt from that. I love, man, you're bringing up so much goodness.
that's right.
Yeah, like we're all, part of the human experience is we're all conditioned to be victims of circumstance, to permit the outer world to govern the inner world, right? Letting outer events govern my inner states. So like that person is like, no one ever invites me to lunch.
Yeah.
Right. Like the poor me, right? They think like it's happening to me. Victims live in that, right? Yeah. So that's what a huge lesson that you are modeling and teaching your people by taking ownership, by posing that question gently, but unapologetically. That's badass leadership right there. It's like, what is how are you co-creating that outcome? What is your contribution to that outcome that you don't like? Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Good on you. What's the mascot of Drexel?
Dragon.
Yes. Do you have
In the I went to Westchester State University in Pennsylvania first for 2 years, played football, and they were the Rams. Then I went to Drexel. They didn't have football.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I thought. All right, gotcha.
Drexel's like that sixth school in Philly, right? You got Penn, Temple, St. Joe's, on over LaSalle, then you got Drexel.
Don't forget Muhlenberg. Yeah,
Muhlenberg's a good school. Muhlenberg, they're all good schools out there. Yeah, absolutely.
You guys, I don't know. I prefer you know what the Muhlenberg mascot is?
I don't.
Mules.
Well, I know Kutztown's Golden Bears.
Freaking mules. Mules.
Well, Lehigh
Put a
used to
few
be
more
the ones
few more minutes of thought into that one. Basically, the asses.
Yeah, right.
All right, so couple final questions to wrap up here. What is the Philadelphia Eagles regular season record going to be next year?
10-7.
Oh, I love that.
10-7. I think that might get them a wild card in that division.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
Beautiful. Best cheesesteaks in Phoenix.
Oh God, darn it. Used to be Uncle Sam's. It's called Giuseppe's
Oh,
in Scottsdale.
roger that. Okay. Best cheesesteak in the world.
Well, the best known cheesesteak in the world is Pat's.
Yeah, but what's
Pat's
yours?
Cheesesteaks.
What's your call?
I like Luke's. Luke's real. Actually,
Luke's?
Sam. Yeah, Tony Luke's.
Right on.
Yeah, they're really good.
They got,
Really good. And then we get them at the Reading Terminal down there.
that place is epic, huh?
It is. Anybody goes to Philly, you gotta go to the Reading Terminal. You have to.
You got to have some energy though. That place is always jammed,
It is.
right? But they got everything.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Okay, and then what about what's a bucket list destination in the world for you?
To visit, you mean?
Yeah, to go like holiday or vacation.
You know, I don't have one. I'd like to get over to Scotland to play golf. I've been to Ireland. I've been blessed. I've traveled around the world, so that's so many places.
So
That, Chris, I'm really shocked at. I just love simple things. So, if I go to the Jersey Shore and go to sit at my house on Asbury Avenue and
Ocean City, baby. That's your answer then. Ocean, that's funny. Ocean
I'm
City.
simple. I'm really simple. So yeah. I know this sounds odd, right?
No, I love that. That was actually you're psychic because you beat me to the final question, which is favorite Jersey Shore destination. But of course,
Ocean City. Yeah, that's where I go every summer.
yeah,
Yep. Be in Asbury. You'll see me there at the
you're
beach.
right. Wait, why are in Asbury?
48th.
48th. Oh, nice and quiet down there.
It is really quiet down there. Yep. Right before you get to Twisties and the Dovell over in Stratford.
Yeah, Deauville, good old Deauville, man. I used to take, so I'm a Sea Isle boy, but I spent a lot of time in Ocean City, right? My family had a funnel cake store in the boardwalk, 12th and boardwalk,
Yeah.
right next to the Shore Mall. I made funnel cakes for 4 damn years. I still can't eat one. Can't even smell it. But yeah, I used to take my little runabout 16-foot MFG tri-hull skiing fishing boat from Seattle down to Deauville for beer and lunch.
Yeah,
So
that's
great,
right.
man.
It is
Great.
still there.
So cool.
Still.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on, man. Well, that's an incredible amount of wisdom packed in a very brief period of time. I sure appreciate your time. I know how damn busy you are. And I just want to say thanks for making the time. And I really appreciate you. I appreciate you and your friendship.
Chris, thank you very much for the opportunity, and all the best to your audience. I hope this helped a little bit.
I'm sure it does. Thanks, Phil.
All right, take care, Chris. Bye-bye.
No wonder the guy has a 97% approval rating, right, on the people that on what was it, Glassdoor, right? CEO. Like, do you dig this guy? 97%. Well, that's why he cares about people. And I'm so glad that he brought it up, like in the context and the way that he did. I didn't know that that's the direction it would go, but you know what? If I thought it through, I would have predicted that. Because of this is why I fell in love with this guy years ago, and stayed in touch with him over the years because of his vibe. Right? I don't know if you had that thought. I did. I didn't use the word vibe in the interview, but I sure thought about it. Like, vibe up. The guy helps you vibe up. He cares about people. He listens, right? And he emphasized the power of empathy, right? And which, by the way, I define empathy as the ability, right? It's a skill, the ability to understand and appreciate and validate the other's perspective. Doesn't necessarily mean agreeing, but it means like appreciating, understanding, going the effort of, and even validating another person's experience or reality, particularly an emotional experience. So, and he that was like his answer, right? To say, what are some of the most important leadership disciplines or characteristics? That was a good leadership interview right there. From my Philly boy, Phil Gallagher. All right, you guys, until next time. Oh, by the way, if you're not getting, I forgot to mention this in the intro this time, but if you're not getting the daily dose every morning around 6 a.m., wherever you are in the world, then go to ChristopherDoris.com/lists, LISTS, name, email, boom, and you get the goods, right? The daily dose. This is the book of the first 365 of the daily doses, right? Mental toughness tips in 30 seconds or less. Best creation of my life. Yeah, baby. Get you some. All right, till next time, create miracles.